Most mornings used to start the same way for me. I'd go to make a simple cup of coffee and somehow end up standing there, staring at a crowded counter, a sink with too many dishes, drawers that barely closed. I wasn't doing anything dramatic, just pausing, feeling strangely tired before the day had even begun. Maybe you know that feeling too, when a drawer full of stuff feels heavier than it should, not on your hands, but on your mind. You tell yourself, I should sort this out, and yet, day after day, it stays the same. And somewhere underneath that small moment is a bigger question. Why is it so hard to let things go? When I first started exploring Japanese minimalism, I thought it was just about tidying, folding clothes a certain way, arranging shelves neatly. But the more I lived with it, the more I realized it was something deeper, almost like learning a new language for my life. It wasn't about having nothing, it was about choosing what truly matters. In this way of living, the home isn't just a backdrop, it's a quiet reflection of our intentions. Simple, functional, meaningful objects that support the way we actually want to live. And clutter isn't just visual noise. It pulls at your attention, makes decisions heavier, keeps your nervous system slightly on edge, even when you think you're used to it. I'm not here to tell you how many things you should own or what your space should look like. I just want to share a doorway that helped me when I felt stuck in my own mess. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 gentle rules, inspired by Japanese minimalism, that make deciding what to keep a little clearer and a little kinder. Not big, dramatic changes, just small, practical ways to bring more intention into your home. And maybe, as you listen, you'll notice one corner of your life quietly asking to breathe again. Rule 1: keep what truly serves you. So now that we've opened the door to this journey of living with less, let's begin with a simple, honest rule. Keep what actually serves you. Not what used to serve you, not what you hope will serve you one day, but what quietly, consistently supports the life you are living right now. One of the most practical ways to check this is what I like to call the yearly use test. It sounds almost too simple, but it's powerful. If an item hasn't made your life better at least once in the past year, it might not belong in your life anymore. A full year is generous. It includes all the seasons, all the moods, all the maybe later moments. When you stand in front of your closet or your kitchen or that drawer that never closes properly, you can ask, did I actually reach for this in the last 12 months? Did it play any real role in my real life? Or has it just been sitting here like a quiet ghost taking up space? In Japanese minimalism, there's a deep respect for daily routines. The things you touch regularly, your cup, your coat, your notebook, become extensions of your body and your mind. They are not just objects, they are partners in your rituals. That's why frequency of use is such a strong indicator of value. Our habits tell the truth long after our rationalizations have run out of excuses. We can say, I might need this, but if our hands haven't reached for it in a year, our life has already answered. When you look at an item, instead of asking, could this be useful someday? Try asking, has this been useful to me in the life I'm actually living? That small shift anchors you in reality instead of fantasy. Of course, you might be wondering, okay, but what counts as use? It doesn't have to be dramatic. Wearing a coat once on a cold trip, using a serving dish for a special dinner, reading a book slowly over months, that's still use. The question is, did this item step into your life at least once in the last year, in a way that felt genuine, needed, or intentional? If the answer is yes, it may still be serving you, even quietly. But if the last memory you have with it feels distant, fuzzy, or tied to a version of you that has clearly passed, the yearly use test gently suggests you might be ready to let it go. There are, of course, edge cases. Seasonal items like winter coats or ski gear might only see daylight a few weeks a year, but when that week comes, they matter. Sentimental pieces are another delicate category. A letter from a loved one, a small object that carries a story. These are not just things, they are emotional anchors. For these, the question shifts from, have I used this, to, does keeping this still add warmth or clarity to my heart? If the answer is yes, it may stay, even if it hasn't been used in a conventional way. The goal isn't to become a strict judge of every single belonging, but to become more honest about the ones that are simply lingering because you're afraid to decide. For the items that are not sentimental or seasonal, there's another minimalist rule that many people find helpful. The 90/90ths rule. It asks 2 very direct questions. Have you used this in the last 90 days? And do you realistically see yourself using it in the next 90 days? If both answers are no, then it's a strong sign that the item is just taking up physical and mental space. This rule is especially powerful for clothes, gadgets, and backup items. Think of that extra phone case, those jeans that never quite fit right, or the kitchen gadget you bought because a recipe on YouTube made it look life-changing. The 90/90ths rule cuts through the fog of maybe because it focuses on actual behavior, not hopeful imagination. Imagine opening your wardrobe and choosing one item. You hold it in your hands and quietly run these tests. Have I used this in the last year? If not, can I truly see myself using it soon, in the real rhythm of my days? Is it seasonal or deeply sentimental? Or is it simply here because I didn't want to face the discomfort of letting it go? As you stand there, you might notice a little tension, but also a small wave of relief. You are no longer asking this item to justify its existence, with promises about someday. You are listening to the truth of your routines. And maybe, just maybe, you place that item in a donation bag, take a breath, and feel a tiny bit lighter. If you pause for a moment right now and look around the room you're in, is there one thing you already know hasn't really served you in the past year? Something your hands never reach for, yet you've been keeping anyway? And how would your space and your mind feel if that object quietly left your life? Rule 2. Does this belong in the life you're building? If Rule 1 was about how often something shows up in your real life, Rule 2 goes a little deeper. It asks whether the things you keep actually belong in the life you're trying to build. Imagine this. Last year you told yourself, I'm going to start hiking, so you bought boots, a backpack, maybe even a fancy water bottle. The trip never happened. Now those things sit quietly in the corner of your closet. When you look at them today, are they part of your real current goals, or are they souvenirs from a version of you that existed only in your imagination? Japanese minimalism, and the KonMari philosophy in particular, often invites us to ask not just, does this spark joy, but what kind of life do I want to live, and does this object support that life? Your home is not a storage unit. It is a reflection of your intentions. If you picture your ideal day, your ideal week, the way you want to move through the world, who you're with, how you work, how you rest, do the items around you help that vision feel more possible? Or do they quietly distract you from it? This is the shift from functional testing to purpose testing. It's not only, is this useful, but is this useful for the person I am becoming? When you pick up an item, you can ask a few gentle questions. Does this support the life I want to live right now? Does it align with my current goals, not the ones I had 5 years ago, or the ones I might have someday? Is it part of the life I truly intend to live? Or is it holding space for a version of me that I've already outgrown? A treadmill you actually use 3 times a week might be a good companion if your goal is to move your body more. But the yoga block's still wrapped in plastic, bought during a brief phase of I'll become a yoga person, that never really arrived. Those might not be part of your true intention anymore. One simple exercise you can try is this. Take a quiet moment and write a small life goals list. Not a big 5-year plan, just 3 to 5 intentions for this season of your life. Maybe it's take better care of my body, spend more time creating, simplify my schedule so I have more rest, or save money to travel more consciously. Once you have that list, look around your space and notice which items clearly support those goals. The comfortable shoes you walk in every day, the sketchbook you actually draw in, the notebook where you organize your budget, these are aligned. Then look at the things that feel disconnected. The untouched craft kits, the third coffee machine, the stack of books you only bought because they looked impressive. People who go through this process often say things like, I realized half my closet belonged to a social life I don't even want anymore. Or, I was keeping equipment for hobbies I never actually enjoyed, just because I liked the idea of them. These small realizations are not failures. They are signs that you're becoming more honest. In a Japanese minimalist home, it's common to see fewer items, but a stronger feeling of coherence. Each thing has a purpose that matches the owner's real life and values. When your belongings are aligned this way, your home begins to feel like a quiet teacher, gently nudging you back toward what matters to you. So, the next time you hold an item and feel unsure, you can pair Rule 1 and Rule 2 together. Have I really used this? And does it belong in the life I'm trying to create now? If the answer is no on both counts, maybe it's time to thank it for the role it played in your story and let it go. And if you pause for a moment and look around your space, is there something you're keeping not because it supports who you are today, but because you're still attached to who you thought you should be? And what might open up inside you if you gently made room for the life you genuinely want instead? Rule 3. Gently releasing the just in case. If the first two rules helped you see what you actually use and what truly aligns with your life, this one touches a quieter, more anxious corner of the mind. The part that whispers, keep it, just in case. You know these items well. The extra gym shoes you haven't worn in years, the tangle of spare chargers, the screws from furniture you no longer own, the cables whose purpose you've already forgotten. They don't really belong to your present, but they cling to your future fears. What if I need it one day becomes the excuse that lets almost anything stay. The just-in-case mindset sounds responsible on the surface. It feels like you're being careful, prepared, even smart. But in reality, it often turns your home into a storage space for imaginary emergencies. Instead of supporting the life you're actually living, these objects quietly feed a subtle belief that you won't be okay if you don't have a backup for every possible scenario. Japanese minimalism offers a different perspective. It trusts that life flows, that you don't have to build a fortress of clutter to feel safe, that having fewer, well-chosen things can actually calm your worries instead of amplifying them. To break the just-in-case habit, it helps to have clear, gentle tools. One of the most helpful is called the 20/20ths rule. It says, if you could replace an item in under 20 minutes for under $20, you can safely let it go. Think about that stack of extra spatulas, the third hairbrush, the old headphones that kind of work, but not really. If they disappeared tomorrow and you truly needed them, could you find a replacement without much time or money? If yes, maybe they don't need to live in your drawer, just in case. What this rule really does is teach your nervous system a new story. I don't need to keep everything to be okay. I can trust my ability to handle small needs as they arise. Another gentle helper is the maybe box, often used as a 6-month trial method. Instead of forcing yourself into a harsh yes or no choice, you create a temporary in-between space. You take all those doubtful just-in-case items, extra office supplies, old beauty products, backup kitchen gadgets, and place them in a box. You mark the date on it, and you store it out of sight. You don't open it for 6 months. During that time, if you truly need something from the box, you can go and retrieve it. At the end of the 6 months, you look at what remains untouched. Those items have given you a very quiet but honest message. You didn't need them, even when you gave yourself a chance to miss them. Letting them go then becomes less scary and more of a natural conclusion. Psychologically, we hold on to just-in-case items for many reasons. Sometimes it's fear of wasting money, so we cling to the purchase to avoid feeling guilty. Sometimes it's a scarcity mindset we absorbed from childhood, when resources really were uncertain. Sometimes it's perfectionism, the belief that a good adult is always prepared for every scenario. But life in a Japanese minimalist sense recognizes that there is a cost to this kind of preparedness. Every unnecessary object you keep for a vague maybe takes up space, demands a little of your attention, and adds tiny drops of future worry to your present moment. When you reduce these just-in-case items, you're not being careless. You're choosing trust over fear. So, you might start small. Open a drawer, pick up one item that you've been keeping just in case, and quietly ask yourself, have I actually needed this in the past 6 months? If it vanished, could I replace it easily and affordably? Could this go into a maybe box, giving me space while I learn to trust myself more? One object at a time, you loosen the grip of those imagined emergencies. Your home begins to carry less of your anxiety and more of your intention. And if you pause for a moment right now, is there one just-in-case thing you already know you're holding on to? Not because you truly need it, but because you're afraid to admit you don't. And what might soften inside you if you finally allowed it to leave? Rule 4. Progress, not perfection. By now you might be feeling something stir inside you. A mix of relief and overwhelm. You see the just-in-case corners, the items that don't match your real life anymore, and a part of you whispers, I want to change this. But another part looks at the whole house, the overflowing closets, the attic, the garage, and feels tired before even starting. If that's you, I want you to know there is nothing wrong with you. Decluttering is not just a physical task, it's an emotional and mental load. Every object carries a decision. Every decision carries a bit of energy. And if you expect yourself to fix your whole life in a weekend, of course you're going to freeze. In Japanese minimalism, there is this quiet understanding that life is made of small, repeated movements. Tea is brewed 1 cup at a time, floors are swept a little each day, and the home is tended to as an ongoing relationship, not a project you complete and then forget. Decluttering works the same way. It isn't a one-time heroic purge, it's a gentle, continuous practice of choosing what stays close to you. When you shift from, I need to get everything perfect, to, I just need to make a little progress today, something softens inside. The mountain becomes a path. One way to lean into this is to borrow the idea of a snowball method. Instead of trying to tackle the biggest, messiest room first, you start with something so small, it almost feels silly. A single drawer, one shelf, the tray by your front door. You give yourself permission to focus only there. You decide, for the next 15 or 20 minutes, this is my world. You clear out what doesn't serve you, you organize what remains, and you stop when you said you would. That tiny success becomes your first snowball. The next day or the next weekend, you choose another small area. Each little win rolls into the next, and slowly, almost quietly, your confidence grows. You start to trust yourself. I can do this, one piece at a time. To support this, you can create a rhythm that feels kind instead of demanding. Maybe you choose one declutter touch point a week. Every Sunday afternoon, you spend 30 minutes with one category or one corner. Or you decide that each day you'll let go of just one thing that no longer belongs in your life. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. In the long run, a year of small, honest choices will change your home far more deeply than one exhausted weekend of forcing yourself to get everything perfect. And when setbacks happen, and they will, you can learn to see them as information, not as proof that you've failed. Maybe you decluttered a surface, and a week later, it's cluttered again. Instead of thinking, I'm hopeless, you can ask, what does this spot attract? What habit or feeling is bringing things back here? Maybe you realize you need a small tray for everyday items, or a better place to put incoming mail, or a boundary about what you allow into your home in the first place. Every mistake is just data about how your life actually flows. Japanese minimalism isn't about never slipping. It's about paying attention gently, adjusting, and trying again. So as you walk this path, remember, you're not auditioning for the role of perfect minimalist. You're simply getting to know yourself and your space, layer by layer. Even if today you only clear a single drawer, that is still movement, still proof that you care about how you live. And if you pause for a moment and look at your week ahead, what is one small, realistic step, just one, that you could commit to, not to impress anyone, but simply to honor the quieter, simpler life you secretly long for? Rule 5, would you care enough to clean it? By the time you reach this last rule, you've already asked your things some pretty honest questions. Do I use this? Does it truly align with my life? Am I just keeping it just in case? But sometimes, even after all that, your brain still hesitates, especially when you're tired or overwhelmed. That's where this last rule comes in. A little bit playful, a little bit bold, but surprisingly powerful. The "would you clean it if it got really dirty" rule. Some people jokingly call it the poop rule. And yes, it sounds a bit crude at first, but that's exactly why it works. It shakes you out of indecision by making the choice suddenly very clear. Here's how it works. You pick up an item you're unsure about. Maybe a shirt you've never worn, a decorative object on a shelf, or a board game that's been collecting dust for years. Then you imagine something extreme. If this item were suddenly filthy, really, truly dirty, would you still care enough to roll up your sleeves and clean it so you could keep it? If the answer is honestly no, if you feel your body pull back with a quiet, ugh, no way, then that object probably doesn't matter enough to deserve space in your life. On the other hand, if you can feel yourself thinking, okay, I'd be annoyed, but yes, I would definitely wash this and keep it, then you've just learned something important about how much you actually value it. This kind of exaggerated hypothetical is especially helpful when your brain is tired of making decisions, or if you struggle with ADHD and your attention gets easily drained by too many tiny choices. Instead of trying to weigh 100 subtle pros and cons, you jump straight to a clear emotional response. Imagine that dress you've been saving for a special occasion that never comes. If it got soaked and stained, would you lovingly hand wash it, take it to the cleaner, make sure it survives? If yes, it might be a piece worth keeping. Now, think about the 5th extra mug in your cupboard, the one you never reach for. If it fell outside and got covered in mud, would you carefully scrub it so it could go back into your crowded cabinet? Or would you shrug and think, honestly, I can let that go? There is your answer, without overthinking. You can try this with duplicates and knickknacks too. That 2nd or 3rd phone charger from a device you don't even own anymore, the decorative sign you bought on sale, the little figurines you don't really notice. If they were suddenly dirty, would you feel motivated to save them, or would you toss them without much regret? The beauty of this rule is that it cuts through polite excuses and goes straight to your real priorities. In a way, it's asking, if this item demanded extra effort from you, would you still choose it? Japanese minimalism often comes back to this core idea. What you keep should be things you are willing to care for, maintain, and honor. If something doesn't deserve your care, maybe it doesn't deserve your space either. And underneath the humor, there's a gentle reminder about your own energy. Everything you own is a relationship. It needs to be stored, cleaned, moved, and managed. When you imagine cleaning something in its worst state and still wanting to keep it, you're acknowledging, yes, I'm willing to invest a little of my life into this. When you wouldn't, you're acknowledging that your time and attention are too precious to waste on it. Fewer things mean fewer silent obligations. Fewer invisible, I'll deal with that later promises hanging over you. So the next time you're stuck holding an object and your mind is spinning in circles, try smiling a little and quietly asking yourself, if this were suddenly really, really dirty, would I care enough to clean it and keep it? Or would I finally feel free to let it go? And what does that answer tell you about what truly deserves a place in your life? So, if you look back on everything we've just walked through together, it really comes down to a few simple promises you can make to yourself. To keep what actually serves you by noticing what you really use. To choose things that'll align with the life you want instead of the life you left behind. To stop holding on, just in case, when fear is the only thing that's talking. To honor progress over perfection, so you can move softly instead of not moving at all. And to ask that last honest question, if this got really, really dirty, would I care enough to clean it and keep it? None of those rules are dramatic. They don't require a big cinematic transformation. They're quiet, almost ordinary, but that's why they work. Japanese minimalism taught me that a calm home doesn't arrive in one big moment. It's shaped by many small, intentional decisions made in the middle of everyday life. Maybe as you listened, one drawer, one corner, one object came to mind. You don't have to redo your whole house tonight. You don't even have to decide everything. You could simply start there with that one thing and let these 5 rules sit beside you like gentle questions instead of strict commands. Over time, those small choices add up to a room that feels lighter, mornings that feel less rushed, a mind that has just a little more space to breathe. I'm curious as you sit here now, which rules surprised you the most or felt the most challenging to imagine using in your own home? If you feel like sharing, you can leave it in the comments or even just name it quietly to yourself. And if you'd like to keep exploring this slower, more intentional way of living with me, you're always welcome to subscribe and stay close. We'll keep taking these small steps together. For now, maybe all you need to do is look around your space, choose one tiny change, and see how it feels to let your life become just a little bit lighter.